Roman is the biggest bad guy character in professional wrestling.
When's the last time you got laid?
French toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Like, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Can we tell the truth about Dusty sooner or later?
Bro, less people wanted that than are currently watching our stream.
And you know Vince, and you still think, are these true? It's like...
Welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mark It Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined tonight by James DeSanti, back here once again to review AEW Dynamite. Nothing else. There was nothing else on tonight, so that's all we're reviewing.
Nothing. Nothing. The only channel I have on TV is TBS, and when I can get a second channel, it's TNT.
And then the third channel, True TV. Those are the same company. No, we will probably talk a little bit about how the NXT and AEW went head-to-head tonight, but we're still going to stick here mostly with AEW tonight. And we started off the show this evening with the Hurt Syndicate coming down for what was originally a in-ring interview, but then MVP quickly threw Shivani out of the ring because MVP, who played off chants for himself very well, saying, Shivani, I don't think I need an introduction. You may now leave. Very well done by him. But he allowed that to officially introduce himself, Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, and the Hurt Syndicate officially for the first time.
I need you to know, as a friend, it makes me so uncomfortable how you say Shelton Benjamin. And it's just because it sounds so sexual.
It's the Usos thing. I'm stealing it from them.
I understand. And I'll tell you this, it made me uncomfortable with them too. It's just it's not even sexual, it's sensual.
Yeah.
It's something.
Which is why I'm only doing it the first time I say his name in the show, and then I've stopped because I know it makes me feel uncomfortable. Anyway, MVP says that the goal of the Hurt Syndicate here in AEW is to actually help younger talent, and if he gives you a Hurt Syndicate business card, you should treat that like a golden ticket. If you decide to reject it, you've already seen what happens. And then he shows the clip of the trio beating down Swerve Strickland and Prince Nana last week at the end of Dynamite. This obviously prompts Swerve to come out surrounded by the referee corps, and he was holding a chain in his hand. And eventually Nana is able to come over and calm everybody down, saying Swerve just wants to talk. He's not going to go past the ramp. Swerve basically comes out and goes, Bobby Lashley, full gear. That's it. That's all he says. And MVP,
so angry. It was so gravelly.
Yeah, MVP accepts the challenge, and then everybody disperses. But I think you bring up a good point, James, that because it was so angry and so gravelly, he only needed to say Bobby's name and those two words, and it actually put across a lot of emotion and stuff like that. So great job out of Swerve in the very small amount of time he was given. But this was a shorter segment, as we say hello to Fletcher. Good night, my friends, or hello, I guess. I don't know if that means you're saying hi.
It's weird because good night is typically viewed as like a goodbye. It's viewed as like an adios. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Those are all greetings.
Yeah. Unless you watch like old Connery Bond movies, then they kind of don't. But anyway, good to see you, dude. As for the Hurt Syndicate, James, they didn't get a lot of time either. But I thought MVP, laid out the mission statement here for them in AEW, and it allows us to see that, or at least assume that they're going to be getting a few more people, probably younger people within AEW, and I'm very curious to see who they end up recruiting into the Syndicate.
I mean, we've already seen
hints.
Fletcher as a Brazilian. I agree. All right, we'll get to that in a little bit, Fletcher. We've already seen that MVP has given out that very prestigious, as he said, that's like Willy Wonka's golden ticket. He's given that card out to a few people already. He's given it to Ricochet. He's given it to Max Caster. He's given it to Lio Rush. And Lio Rush is a big one because he gave it to Lio after Lio lost to Shelton. So
and he has history with Bobby, which is interesting. And if I'm not mistaken, he also gave one to Mercedes Moné.
Yes, and he did give one to Mercedes Moné. I feel like Mercedes has been like the hottest free agent in terms of stables for AEW. Like at one point, she felt so right for the Elite. And now she feels so right for the Hurt Syndicate. Like it's just really a matter of time before she lands somewhere. Yeah. But I would love to see Lio Rush reunited with Bobby. I don't know. What's up, Hunter Riggy? What up?
Hey, Hunter.
I don't know that I want Ricochet with them. On some level, yes, because man, does he need a mouthpiece? Even though his promos have been considerably better in AEW than they were in WWE. Yep. But I still think he needs a mouthpiece. But I don't know. I will say somebody that I really, 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 really want in the Hurt business came back tonight in the main event.
Well, we'll get to that later.
So there are a lot of names that I could say, though, of all of them, Caster is the only one that I don't know I want in that group.
And granted, it might not be Caster. It could be Bowens.
It could be, but Caster is definitely the one who's held on to the card. And he's the one who's definitely acting a little heelier lately.
True.
But, yeah, we'll see. Either way, I love that Bobby's in AEW. I love that he's officially, as of today, all Elite. They made a big deal about it on Collision, that they were hoping to get him signed before Dynamite. It was a weird thing, but they did it. So he's officially all Elite today.
Tony tweeted it right before the show.
Yeah.
So.
And
I think MVP mentioned it as well during his promo. Bobby.
I do miss Bobby's WWE theme, though. I'll be honest.
Oh, it was so good.
Like was so good,
Yep.
But it is what it is. We will live.
Yeah, I'm also going to be miss him being called the Almighty Bobby Lashley, but MVP did manage to sneak an Almighty in there during his introduction. So hopefully he's able to use that while working around the copyright. Either way,
I think MVP is also copyrighted.
Well, it's also his initials. Oh, and I don't know. He might have he's been going by MVP forever. So
here's the thing. He is specifically going by Montel Vontavious Porter, but then he gets the crowd to say MVP. So I think it's the same thing with Brian, that Brian himself could not say yes, 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 but him doing this was okay, and the crowd chanting yes, yes, yes was like a legal loophole.
But hasn't Excalibur been calling him MVP?
I'll be honest, I gotta pay attention.
Yeah, I feel like he has, but maybe it's just one of those things where I'm just like assuming he is and not really listening. I'm hearing but not listening. So either way, I'm excited to see all three of these guys. As I mentioned earlier, as James takes a selfie for the gram, I'm excited to see who they recruit, and we'll talk about that a bit more later. But this is going to be very interesting to see how it plays in AEW. So we'll keep an eye on the Hurt Syndicate as we move along. After this, we had our first match of the evening, which saw the newly dubbed Death Riders, which is what we're finally calling Moxley's group now, as opposed to continuing to call them the Blackpool Combat Club, against the team of Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin. Before we get started on the match, James, Death Riders is way cooler. It's not all right. It's not cooler than Blackpool Combat Club, but I think it just works better for this group.
It works for them better. It works for them better.
Because they're clearly riding for death of everybody at the moment. And continuing to call them the Blackpool Combat Club without Brian, and while bringing in Pac and Marina, it just didn't feel right. So giving them a new name, calling them the Death Riders, I think it makes a lot more sense. And it fits their, like the feeling of the group a lot better.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm going to miss the BCC.
Yeah.
But at least in some way, the BCC will always be with Brian, you know?
Yep.
So, yeah.
I can tell you this, both Nigel and I will not miss it, so we don't call it the BBC anymore. But other than that, I think the
you really did do that.
Sense.
You really did.
It's only funny. I only did it the one time a couple of weeks ago. I was always.
I don't know that that's true. I feel like it might have slipped a couple of times.
I've been pretty good about it, I think, though, because I feel like I would remember doing it more. But I know Nigel did it all the time because Matthew always made fun of him over on Botchamania. And, I mean, for any British person, how could you not?
Yeah.
So, can't really blame Nigel there. It's literally just force of habit. And even for me, to an extent, because I watch a lot of British television. But I digress. Getting into the match here, actually, before we even started, as Orange made his entrance, Pac and Claudio decided that they should go and try to jump Orange at the top of the ramp. But this was just Orange luring them into a trap as Darby was on top of...
that was a shot, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, on top of one of the tunnels, and he comes down onto both men, and that ignited a pre-match brawl. Orange actually started the actual match pretty strongly, and he took it to Pac and almost pinned him eventually after a diving DDT, but Claudio came in to break it up and then basically just tried to break Orange in half, hitting what felt like 10 gut-wrench backbreakers and gut busters, just one after the other, just spinning Orange around and bouncing him off of his knee repeatedly. It was pretty vicious, and it made Claudio look like a beast. Later in the match, after Claudio countered a tilt-a-whirl DDT from Orange, Orange countered that counter into a Stun Dog Millionaire, and then Darby followed that up with a Code Red. Orange was then able to hit a Tope Suicida onto Pac on the outside, and then he got back in the ring and then went across to hit Claudio on the other side, and then Darby followed those up with two of his own to each man. Wheeler Yuta, who was seconding Claudio and Pac, then decided he was going to jump in the ring to interfere, and he threw a punch at Orange, but Orange was able to duck it and hit an orange punch onto Yuta, and then he hit Claudio with one after Claudio got up on the apron, and finally he hit Pac with one and was going to go for the pinfall and presumably the win. However, Marina Shafir came rushing in and kicked poor referee Bryce Remsburg square in the chest like King Leonidas, sending him out of the ring, and this eventually caused the disqualification, but Bryce Remsburg was basically dead on the outside. This allowed the brawl to begin, and everything broke down from here. Darby grabbed his skateboard, and he was just hitting everybody with it, and he was able to hold off the Death Riders for a little bit, but as he was going around taking everybody out, he was forced to duck a shot with the briefcase that Marina has handcuffed to her wrist, and as he ducked that, it completely set him up for an uppercut out of nowhere from Claudio, which just absolutely laid Darby out. And then Claudio military pressed him and tossed him into the ring post. And I'm saying, it was like the top of the ring post.
Yeah, it was
Claudio
crazy.
fucking yeeted him. Meanwhile, back in the ring, while this is going on, Orange was trying to take on Moxley, who had joined the fray, but Moxley soon overpowered Orange, I think with the help of Wheeler, and eventually took him out with a rear naked choke. Hello, you know it. I don't know why the notification didn't pop up. I'm sorry. I'm too tired to restart the show. Hello. Anyway, Orange was now out cold. So as Pac and Claudio beat him down, along with Marina, I might add, Mox went into the corner where Wheeler was standing and got in his face and basically yelled at Wheeler to do something. I'm not really sure what, but it ended with Wheeler coming over and hitting the Busaiku knee onto Orange, knocking him out cold. At this point, the Conglomeration, consisting of Ishii, Cool Kyle O'Reilly, and Mark Briscoe, came down for the save, and the Death Riders retreated into the crowd.
Can I give a hot take opinion?
Go ahead.
I don't like that they got involved in the match.
The Death Riders, like the other ones?
I don't like that they got involved. Their whole thing is they want to see these people step up. Right? That's what they're saying. We want to see who's going to step up. So they just, when they do, it doesn't matter. they had them beat, but it doesn't matter. I like this gimmick because it doesn't feel hypocritical. It feels like this is something Moxley actually wants. He wants somebody to challenge for the throne. He wants somebody to challenge for the crown. And it doesn't now, like, something like this contradicts that. And I get you don't want them to take a loss. I get that. But you also need to build momentum for Orange and for Darby. I don't know. It just feels weird.
It admittedly did feel, I guess, in that aspect a little weird. I just kind of figured it where, as we say hello to Mr. Penguin, what's going on?
What's up, Penguin? Always a pleasure to have you here, pal. Thank you for joining us.
I feel like at this point they're more just trying to take out Orange and Darby than have them step up. Oh, he was talking to you. I thought he was talking to me. You know it, complaining James is drinking straight out of a I shouldn't say the name of the company, out of a cranberry juice bottle.
No, say the name of the company. If we could get endorsed, that would be swell.
No free ads. So you know it's saying get a glass or at least a sippy cup. I thought he was talking to me because I got the can here. And I was just like, I've been drinking a can out of a can on the show for the last 4 years now, or however long we've been doing it. No one said shit. I even got a koozie on it to protect, from sponsors. But yeah, I guess I can agree with what you're saying. You're right. Like, they're trying to get Orange and Darby to step up, but they're also trying to get them to step up to what they want, for their reasons. So, the beatings will continue until morale improves, I think was kind of what they were going for here with this one.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a shame, though, James, because I kind of did like the rest of the match, and it seemed to be telling a pretty good story. Thank you, Mr. Penguin. We do have to get that sponsorship. No free ads, as I said.
Oh, right.
But, right, I thought the match was good, and then, like I said, they were telling a good story here, and it looked like Orange was going to get the pin at the end.
Strong match. I am amazed, and I mean it, I am amazed at how well Orange and Darby work as a tag team. Their moveset complements each other so well. I loved the Stun Dog Millionaire into the Code Red.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That was such a good spot. Oh, God. Orange and Darby both doing the Tope Suicidas. Amazing. So I really enjoyed this matchup. I agree. It's kind of disappointing with the finish, and as I said, for multiple reasons. But excellent wrestling from these guys. Claudio is just, man, if that guy could just talk just a little bit better, right? He world champion of every company.
Damn shame it's his fifth language and he can't talk.
And I also loved, and it was subtle, obviously, because they didn't really hit on it too much with commentary, the history that Orange has with Pac.
They did a little bit. Shivani mentioned the fact that obviously they were talking about, I think, Orange's history with Moxley and the International Championship, and then Shivani was like, while Orange was fighting Pac, he mentioned that Pac was the person Orange originally took the international championship off of.
And we could go even further than that, because I'd say for a lot of people, that initial match he had with Pac years ago was what made people become very aware of how good Orange actually is. That was his first showcase in AEW.
The original he's gonna try match.
Yes. And look how far he's come. That this is a guy who brought the fight to them. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, and honestly, to go to your point too, these guys have a lot of chemistry, I think, too, because they've worked together a lot. But Orange and Darby, as you said, have a lot of chemistry as a team because they do have kind of similar movesets and a lot of moves that play off each other very well.
Yeah.
And then as far as their opponents go, Orange and Darby can keep up with Pac, who's as quick as they are, but also very strong, and they can sell that because they are smaller guys. And then that especially works well with Claudio because both of them are small enough where Claudio was tossing them around. this entire match, and it just made him look like an absolute animal. So honestly, if you ran this back another 6 times in a row, I'd be thrilled. Best of 7 with these 4 guys would be awesome, but within the storyline, it's not going to work right now. So we'll take a pause on that there.
Let's go to the comments real quick. We'll start up with no, we did not talk about NXT. We could not get both done. This would be like a 3-hour show.
We tried it once a few years ago. It was a lot.
It's a lot, and it's hard for people to keep up. We're going to see about maybe trying to cover it tomorrow. I'll try to, maybe. But we'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, and might I just say, because James and I were talking about this before the show started, we did intend on at least trying to watch NXT a little bit on the side, but trying to get the CW is incredibly difficult. There's nowhere to stream it. At least I didn't have a way without doing it on my computer, and I need my computer to set this up. So I wasn't really able to watch. The Xbox app doesn't work anymore, and you can't watch live. You can't watch live on any websites. Legally, you either CW.com or the local channel, which here is WPIX. So the only way to really watch it is if you have either cable or I have an antenna, a digital antenna. Also, if you don't have like cable, get a digital antenna. It kicks ass. But then I would have had to put NXT on the big TV, and we were covering Dynamite. I would have put that on the side TV, and I wanted to pay more attention to Dynamite. So it just became something that unfortunately ended up going by the wayside for us. But to your point, Mr. Penguin, Shawn Michaels is cooking in NXT.
NXT is a great product right now. It really is. They've got great talent there, whether it's Obafemi or Tony D'Angelo or Trick Williams or quite possibly one of the most stacked women's rosters I've ever seen.
Yeah, apparently that 5-on-5 tonight was awesome.
So NXT is absolutely cooking. But when they went head-to-head a couple weeks ago, I covered NXT and I watched NXT. So if anything, it's more fair to do it this way regardless. But yeah, rooting for NXT right now, rooting for Shawn, and rooting for those NXT guys. They're doing great. They're absolutely doing great.
Yeah, I might not watch NXT every week, but I kind of follow all the WWE shows the same way, where I'm checking, YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, whatever it is, catching the big highlights. And that's just how I've been watching all WWE products, including NXT. And everything I see from NXT is great. So, I hope they continue to do well there. They're, as you said, James, that women's roster is stacked, and the rest of the roster is also very good.
Absolutely. And let me just say, Obafemi versus Gunther, we're all going to eat good.
Yeah.
We're all going to eat good.
Big meaty men slapping meat.
Oh, yeah. Barbecue. But how do we feel about Sting return? I mean, I love whenever Sting shows up. I don't care that he's retired. If he wants to come back once or twice a year for a special appearance, I'm always going to say yes.
Yeah. I will say this, though. I think Mr. Penguin, as by his next comment, is saying that he has, in terms of returning for another match, and I think I'm good with Sting matches. Not that I don't want to see anymore, like in terms of, I don't think it would be bad. I don't want to see anymore because that was a perfect send-off.
It really was.
You don't get a lot of those in wrestling. So, yeah, Sting versus Darby would be cool, but I don't think we need it. I'm with you, James. If he wants to come back, like his last appearance, make a big save, come to restore justice when it's needed, then I'm cool with that. Yeah. But I don't need another Sting match just because you're just not going to top that last one.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. All right. Let's move on to our next segment where we went backstage for an interview with Ricochet. He was in the main event tonight, and Renee was asking about his mystery tag team partner for his match with the Don Callis family. And Ricochet said it was pretty awesome that he could choose from pretty much anyone in the AEW locker room, since almost everyone has a problem with the family, but he's going to keep that secret to himself. The Hurt Syndicate then came over, and Renee smartly left and kind of surrounded Ricochet, but not really in it was like almost threatening, but not really, because MVP came over and put his hand on Ricochet's shoulder. So Ricochet is like, what's up? Yeah. He's like, "What's up, dude?" And MVP is like, "Well, we just wanted to come over and wish you luck." And Ricochet's like, "That's all." And MVP's like, "Yeah, dude." So Ricochet's like, "I bet. Watch me work." And the trio leave him be. And then after they left, Ricochet kind of looked at their suits up and down, and then looked back at his and adjusted his tie clip and kind of made himself look good. So James was mentioning maybe Ricochet joins them, maybe he doesn't. He could kind of be the Cedric Alexander of the group, but I think it really does matter who else they plan on having join that group. And so Ricochet is a possibility, but if he doesn't, I think he would be a good foil for the Hurt business, or excuse me, the Hurt Syndicate. That's going to be a while before I really start getting that down. But I think he might be an interesting foil to the Syndicate as they get going here in AEW after Swerve, or he joins up with Swerve. Who knows? Following that interview, we went back to the ring where we saw the Conglomeration, and they were still in the ring as they waited for Chris Jericho and the Learning Tree for their fight without honor. James, before I get into the fight without honor, did you have anything on the Ricochet backstage segment with the Hurt Syndicate?
Again, I'm liking this concept of him possibly joining. If he does join, it makes the guy who I want to join seem more possible because of what happened later tonight.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
So if I get what I want through Ricochet, fine.
Through Ricochet, all things are possible.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is why I liked what they did at the end of the show, but we'll get into that later.
Yes.
As I was saying, our next match was the Conglomeration against Jericho and the Learning Tree in a fight without honor. Within the first 5 minutes of this match, 4 of the guys went through tables and the other 2 went through a ladder. So early wanton destruction.
Yeah.
Perfect. To set up perfectly for the commercial break as we went picture in picture. We then came out of it, and a little bit later in the match, we had Brian Keith, Chris Jericho, Tomohiro Ishii, and Mark Briscoe all fighting in the ring. But we then saw footage of Big Bill and Kyle O'Reilly fighting through some of the hallways and appearing through one of the tunnels that led back out to the floor. We had Big Bill throw Kyle on top of a road case, and then he set up 2 tables next to the road cases, jumped up and tried to chokeslam Kyle through those tables, but Kyle was able to counter the chokeslam into a front-facing guillotine, and then eventually Big Bill passed out from that, and the 2 of them went crashing through those tables.
Great spot.
Taking them both out for the rest of the match. Back in the ring, Briscoe went after Jericho with a ladder as Ishii and Keith had taken each other out on the outside, and Jericho drop-kicked that ladder back into Briscoe. But when Jericho went after Mark was able to quickly counter, gain the upper hand, and then hit a J-driller onto Jericho. However, instead of covering, as we've seen recently with Briscoe, he really just wants to kill Jericho for continuing to say his brother's name. So Briscoe, much like he did in their ladder war title match, set up Jericho on a couple of tables, went to the top of the ladder, and hit the froggy bow through the tables and got the pinfall. However, once again, a member of the Learning Tree, this time Brian Keith, came over and broke up the pin. So Briscoe was forced to battle him, and the 2 of them went to the outside, and Briscoe was able to hit a tope suicida. Meanwhile, Ishii was able to get back into the ring, and he went after Jericho, who was pretty much out on his feet at this point. And Ishii hit him with his patented sliding lariat before hitting the stalling brainbuster and pinning the Ring of Honor World Champion for the win. So, James, fun match here. Anytime people are going through tables and ladders and using chairs, it's always going to be fun. But we did have the interesting storytelling at the end here where Briscoe, once again, isn't able to fully get his revenge because he is so focused on killing Jericho rather than just winning the match that he forewent a pin, and it cost him the win, at least the direct win over Jericho. But at the same time, you now have ECE, who just had a run-in with Jericho, and Jericho, I think, took him out on a collision. But now Ishii gets his revenge and possibly might even get another Ring of Honor championship title match. So I like the match, and I like the story they're telling there at the end of it.
I do too. I am all for All right. So it should be discussed. We've been talking about it. Jericho, the new Ring of Honor champion, all that. Apparently, this is happening because Ring of Honor is very close to getting a TV deal, supposedly.
On True TV, which
on
is,
True TV.
As I mentioned earlier, another Turner company. So they're doing a pretty good negotiations. And obviously, Turner has experience with Jericho being the world champion of their new wrestling promotion.
Yep.
So AEW being smart here and able to negotiate, being like, hey, we're going to have Chris Jericho on this show. Give us more money.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Yep.
But I don't think Ring of Honor needs Chris Jericho as world champion for their television program. But if they're going to give us a lovely moment of Mark Briscoe pinning Chris Jericho on the first episode of Ring of Honor TV on True TV, I'll be okay with that. I'll be okay with that.
Oh, it's a bait and switch, but it'd be pretty funny.
And I'm okay with that. I am A-okay with that. Let it happen. It would make me happy. But if they're telling this story with Mark, I'm fine. The weird thing is, I don't need Mark to be Ring of Honor champion. Like, I'm not, like, my love for Mark is strong. My love for the Briscoe brothers is so strong. But I don't need Mark to be the Ring of Honor world champion. Quite frankly, I would love to see him win an AEW title. I'm not saying the world title, but an AEW title would be great.
Yep.
But I just do not want the Ring of Honor title on Jericho. And I love Ishii. I love him. He's not taking the title off Jericho. We know that. We know.
Yeah, he's A, not around enough, and B, you kind of want your world champ to be able to speak.
Exactly. So
and I don't even mean that as a language thing. Ishii barely speaks in
he's
general.
not a talker. He's not a talker. Like even in friggin'
Japan.
In Japan when he does the aftermatch interviews, he's barely talking there too. So no, it's just.
Although he did provide that great meme of it's like, I'm a sad and broken man, write whatever you want.
But that goes to show the man just doesn't speak. Happy or sad. But yeah, my hope is if Mark doesn't take the title off Jericho, Big Bill does. And
that's what I'm here for.
But yeah, fun match. So much happens in matches like this that it's hard to keep track of everything that goes on. But it was a lot of fun seeing them fight out in the crowd. The dive out from up above in the crowd was fun. All the table spots were great.
Yeah. And I'll say this again. Big Bill looking really strong here in this match. Shivani was very hyped about his boss man slam. And the fact that it took Kyle literally clinging to his neck for dear life to put him through the table, that's pretty awesome. So I don't know what James that is. I'm assuming it's my cousin.
But you know what's funny? My dad actually wants to talk to you too.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's my dad because I think my dad is James Gisanti on here too. But I thought that was funny.
All right. Well,
popular.
Yeah. Y'all got my numbers. Text me. All right. But yeah, good match. We'll see what happens with the Ring of Honor World Championship as that television show seemingly is coming down the pipeline. But in the meantime, let's move on. As we went backstage to the Death Riders leaving the facilities, but Moxley decides to stop and cut a promo, making it clear that Wheeler Yuta doesn't owe anything to Orange Cassidy, even if Yuta slept on his couch and maybe Orange gave him some gas money a couple of times. Wheeler is not Orange's friend nor his student. He is Moxley's soldier, and the only thing Wheeler is committed to is a cause. Moxley then goes on to say that he's disappointed in Darby. I forgot to write down why. Just know that he is.
Well, he called him a disappointment. Called him a disappointment. I think it's just because Darby's not joining the fold.
He's not joining the fold. He's not seeing the vision, but Mox hasn't told us what the vision is, so that's kind of annoying. Yeah. Anyway, Moxley said that there's a time to kill and a time to build, and he asked which season that we are in before he eventually ends up leaving. Mox got very cryptic there at the end. There was a bit more he said, but it was so cryptic I couldn't keep track of what he said.
That's pretty cool.
After this, we moved back into the ring for another match. This time it was Adam Cole, Bebe versus Malaki Black, which no wonder that their takeover match came up on my YouTube algorithm today. Smart move by WWE pushing that. And a note, I didn't realize Cole had never beaten Black coming into this match. So thank you, commentary.
6-0. 6-0.
Yep. Okay. So after a great back and forth striking exchange, Cole is able to get Malaki onto his knees and lower the knee pad. But when Cole hit the ropes, Black just jumped back up out of nowhere and hit the end. But Cole kicked out, much to the absolute shock of Malaki.
And everybody, really. That one was super protected.
I couldn't remember anybody kicking out of it. So not in a long time. And it was one of those things. I thought it was over. I was like, wow, they're gonna have Cole restart this run here to 3 wins, but I guess not. Anyway, Black gets Cole back up on his feet and throws him into the corner. But when he went over, Cole threw a super kick that Malaki blocked, and then Cole immediately threw another one that landed. And then Cole hit a Panama Sunrise and then followed it up with 2 more super kicks. Cole then waited for Black to get up, and he kind of leaned on the ropes recovering. But as Malaki decided to get up, he collapsed back onto the mat and decided, screw it, I'm done, and offered himself up to Cole, going crisscross applesauce and spreading his arms, basically laying himself out for the sacrifice. So Cole hits the ropes, lowers the boom, and pins Black for his second straight win. After the match, Cole waited for Black to come to and extended his hand for a handshake, but the two stood up and Malaki decided to hug him instead. During this as well, we also got a shot of Kyle O'Reilly in the back as he was watching this match from the trainer's room. As Malaki was leaving, Cole grabbed a mic and thanked Black, calling him one of the best he's ever fought in his 16-year career. And then he shifted his attention to MJF, saying that's 2 down and 1 to go, and Roddy only needs 2 more wins. So he then answers the question, what happens if both men reach 3 wins? Well, Cole went and talked to Tony Khan, and when they both reach those 3 wins, it'll become a triple threat match between Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and MJF, where MJF is going to get the ass beating of a lifetime, courtesy of the Undisputed Kingdom. We then cut to a very frustrated MJF who was in his lair. I don't know. It looked like if the Addams family directed it. Like, it was very dark.
It's crazy because it's definitely the same place that we've seen him in before, but it did look like a gothic, like Tim Burton mansion.
Right? Either way, he was pretty pissed. Pissed enough to the point where he had to put down his wine for the first time in a while. And he made a phone call telling the person on the other end that he needs them to pay somebody a visit. So Hunter Iggy asking quickly, do we see Malaki Black going back to WWE? It's possible eventually, but I do believe Malachi's under contract for a little while longer. So while some people were questioning, at least on Twitter, whether or not this could be the end of Malaki in AEW, I don't think that's possible at the moment, just due to contractual obligations.
I wouldn't. So it's very complicated because we here at the pod have talked about how these people who jump back and forth thinking that the grass is always going to be greener on the other side. Malaki is not one of those guys. He got released from WWE when he was really heating up again. And it's a shame because he didn't want to leave. He didn't want to leave WWE.
Yeah, and then Paul Heyman accidentally handed AEW a fully fledged character.
It was incredible. It was incredible, and I'm grateful for it because it shouldn't have gone away. You know, it was too good to not be on TV. But if he does go back to WWE, I wish him the best because it's never what he wanted to leave. That said, I would be sad to see him leave AEW because I love the House of Black, and it finally feels like they're building steam.
Yeah, even though they've lost the last couple of matches, they're back on TV again, which is
a lot. They're on Dynamite more now than they've been in years.
Yeah,
like literally years. And I can tell you, I want House of Black versus the Pain Syndicate. Wait, Hurt Syndicate, right?
Hurt Syndicate. We've been calling them the Pain
Yeah.
Syndicate because it sounds better, but it's
Because
Hurt Syndicate.
better. Yeah. I want to see the House of Black versus the Hurt Syndicate so badly. I want to see that so badly. And I would love to have seen Malaki win a singles title in AEW. I think, quite frankly, it's crazy that they haven't pushed him as a singles guy at all.
He needs one.
If he does go back to WWE, he was treated very well under the Triple H regime of NXT. I'm sure he would be treated pretty well on the main roster. But time will tell.
Yeah. Hunter asking if we think we could see Malaki show up at Royal Rumble. Again, I don't think his contract is up.
Yeah, I don't think his contract will be up either. Like, I remember hearing a while back, like I'm saying, like last year, that his contract,
like a 3-year, right?
No, I heard his contract went to like 2027.
Yeah, it's all right. So 3 years from now. So
yeah. So
yeah,
I don't know that that's true. It could very well be bullshit and just dirt sheet rumors. But I heard that he had a long contract regardless. So who knows? I will say though, if he does leave, I want there to be resolution with the House of Black and not with an opponent.
Yeah,
I would rather see him elevate Brody and Buddy than just some opponent. But that's
great.
That's my 2 cents.
I mean, I'm sure you could do both, but he
Yeah.
definitely has to. You're right. There has to be some sort of resolution with the House of Black there before he leaves. Asking, didn't Malaki leave and WWE didn't even know his contract expired? No, he was cut. He was a
cut. But what had happened was he still was operating under an NXT contract,
even though he was on main roster.
And because of that, it changed what his availability was. If he had the main roster contract, he would have had a 90-day no-compete clause. Because he didn't have a main roster contract, he was basically good to go within the month.
Yeah, it was something kind of dumb by WWE at the time. And if I remember correctly, this was like pandemic era, or at least they were still in like one of the original, maybe it wasn't the Thunderdome, but they might have still been at the Performance Center.
I mean, I remember he debuted in Daly's place. Or at the very least, he beat the shit out of Cody in Daly's place. When Cody left his boots in the ring. That was Daly's place.
That was shortly after he debuted, and that might have been one of, if not the first times, they had full capacity. Because there were people on the stage again. I remember that when Cody was going to leave his boots, and then Malaki just absolutely fucking dropped him. So, it was really poorly done because he left right after the Seth Rollins taking everybody's eye thing, didn't he? So, which is why he still wears the contacts, as does Ray. So, it was somewhere around there. Danny chiming in, did you guys talk about the World Series last week or this week? Don't worry, I talked about it last week. James wasn't here. He was actually at the game. So, I covered it. Don't worry. James, to get you back on track here, this match was good though. We haven't talked about it at all since we went to the comments for a couple of questions. This was a really good match of it was a lot of counter striking. I think that which is actually kind of works out for Cole here as he's testing the leg. Him not having to do some really big spots is probably a smart thing. Yeah. But that's the kind of match Malaki, I think, likes to have and tends to have with his striking background. And it was just strike, counter strike, counter strike. It ended up actually being really good, especially that end sequence. Cole looks great kicking out of the end.
Yeah.
And I did like the respect shown by Malaki at the end. I think this was more of the House of Black deciding that they wanted to test Cole as he was coming back to see what he was made of. And they've deemed him worthy. Kind of, and they've put the stamp of the House of Black onto Cole, and he's good to go now.
I think so too. They acknowledged a very long history between the two of them, and I like that.
Yeah,
I think the most shocking thing about this match, though, wasn't any of what happened after or any move that happened, but we need to acknowledge how bad Adam Cole is at spray tanning.
He's not with the Bucks anymore, so
his knee was so pale. How does that happen?
I wonder if he either A, does the spray tanning before he or after he puts his gear on, or B, just maybe like running around in the knee pad just rubs off and off.
If it's A, he's not a rookie. He should know better at this point.
I think it's more likely B.
If it's B, that's fair. But then go to a better place and do it earlier. Wow. I think the only person who's worse at spray tanning is MJF.
I swear to God, he does it on purpose, though.
I really hope so, because otherwise, Jesus Christ.
I think it makes him look fake on purpose. It kind of like leans into his character a little bit.
It's the hands. The hands are just fucking like orangey brown. But yeah, the match itself was fantastic. I loved the back and forth between the two of them. I love Cole caught him with a nice super kick at one point. I think he was on the outside, and it was just marvelously done. And these guys they know each other. You know, this is match number 7 between the two of them one-on-one. I'm fairly certain they've wrestled more than that between tag matches and multi-man matches.
Yeah.
So they know each other. They know how to put on a good match together, and they did. And Cole is looking very strong. I know that they're like last week. Even though I didn't get to watch the show, I know how much the fans were in support of Buddy over him. Like it was loud, and I think the crowd was also behind Malaki to an extent tonight too. But they didn't seem so against Cole.
Yeah, and I think that kind of happened last week. They weren't against Cole, but I think it kind of goes back to what you said earlier, where we're seeing House of Black again, and people really like them. So because they've been so rare, I think of like they're excited to see them and they're backing them.
I also think that it needs to be acknowledged that they are fighting an uphill battle with Cole, because he's basically gaslighting us all into saying that Max had it all coming. Like, we all have to accept the fact that there was some wonky storytelling here due to all the time off, all the injury, everything. Yeah. But I know that a lot of the crowd isn't being all that receptive to what Cole is telling us. And I don't blame Cole. He's doing the best he can given the circumstances. But I get the crowd also not being 100% behind that ideology.
Yeah.
But I hope tonight went a good way into getting the crowd behind him a little bit more. God help him next week for match 3. Because we know who it is now.
Yeah.
And God help him. And good showing. Good showing. And I hope, man, was Malaki in the Continental Classic last year? Brody was.
I know Brody was.
I would love it if either Buddy or Malaki are in it this year.
I really hope Malaki is in it. Honestly, I'd love to see Malaki win, but
I wouldn't be opposed.
Give the man the singles title already.
I would not be opposed.
Yeah, but I'll mention it again later. They are blowing Okada up for this thing, really pushing him as, you know, the greatest or one of the greatest round robin tournament wrestlers ever.
Yep.
So, and he is, but I think that leads to him getting upset.
We'll see.
We shall see. I think the one other interesting thing that came out of this, James, was it is now going to be a triple threat at Full Gear. This went against our prediction of it'll end up being Cole versus Roddy for that 3rd win, and now it's going to be all 3 guys. So I still have Roddy betraying Cole in this match, and it eventually leads to O'Reilly coming back to help Cole. But a little bit of a different route that they're taking, but I think it still ends up with the same result.
Yeah, I agree. I don't even know who Roddy faced in round 1.
It was probably on Collision.
Yeah, but I think more than anything, I'm just kind of surprised that he's just not going through all of House of Black.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Match 3 isn't Brody.
Yeah, I get what the storytelling that they are going for with the MJF making the phone call and who the phone call was to, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, I thought it was going to be Brody. I really did. And instead it's, they went this other direction. So curious. But hey, I'm hyped for that match. So
Oh, yeah.
they get. I know it's going to be a real fucking sussy ending, but they're giving it away for free. So
Yeah, I know that's gonna be great.
Yeah. All right, but we'll talk about that stuff in a bit. We'll move on next to a backstage interview with the Switchblade Jay White, and Jay was attempting to respond to all the things that Hangman said he would do to him at Full Gear, but as Jay was talking, Hangman just absolutely blindsided him. And the two started brawling, and then that spilled out towards the rampway. Eventually, after ducking a chair shot from White, Hangman is able to drive him into the barricades and then hang him up and get Jay's bad ankle trapped between two of the metal barricades. Hanger then took the chair and was going to presumably attempt to break it between those two things, but Juice came running out of the tunnel and grabbed the chair, distracting Hangman long enough to allow Jay to escape the predicament and come over and start brawling with Hangman again. He went down to the ring and Juice followed, and Hangman decided that discretion was a better part of valor, and he rolled out of the ring and escaped through the crowd. So Jay decided to grab a mic, and he says that he still wants to tell Hangman everything he's going to do to him at Full Gear, saying he's going to beat down and humiliate Page, and that these people are going to enjoy watching him do it. Switch then says that he's going to do what he has always done, be better than Hangman, move past him, and leave him in the dust. And he finishes off by saying that Page's leg is going to be his downfall, and maybe, just maybe, he will be the first person to make Hangman tap out. So that, I think, was the most interesting part of this whole thing, James.
I agree.
Yeah, Hangman hasn't tapped out before, which makes sense, I guess. But the fact that this is something now that Jay White wants to do and something that they're teasing, which means it's going to be a very big part of this match.
I agree. It almost to a fault. Because on one hand, yes, it's good because it's going to separate it from the first match that they had, which I thought was very good. I really did enjoy that first match. So doing something to differentiate yourself is not a bad idea. But I don't know if I don't know. I'll be honest. Jay isn't a submission guy. Like, he does rest holds. He wears his opponent down. But like he's not getting wins with friggin' STFs or octopus stretches. He's with the blade
Dragon Screw Red Lips, like that. So that's what I was expecting from him, and I guess that's what Hangman talked about last week, where he was like, "I know what you're going to do to me, Jay. Like, you're going to Dragon Screw me and try to go after my injured foot. So I'm going to burn your house down instead." Like, A, bit of a jump there, but. Yep. B, I guess this is something Switchblade is trying to get into Page's head with, saying, you think you know what I'm going to do, but no, I'm actually going to do this to you, and it's completely off the beaten path from what I usually do.
Yeah.
So, interesting. I'm curious. Now I'm really interested to see how that match works out, because if Jay is working to attempt to submit him, that could lead to a whole different mess of stuff, as you mentioned. Their last match was good. Most of their matches are very good. But this could lead to a very different style of match. Also, it's saying that Juice showed up like a true hero. Take your superhero pose, bro. The thing is, it's very bad for your knees. So
super bad.
Yeah. That's a different movie. After that, we went to commercial, and we came back as Excalibur sent it to Renee for another backstage interview, this time with Chris Statlander. Renee goes over the fact that Stats match for the TBS Championship has been made official for Full Gear against Mercedes Moné, and Renee asks Stat about that, and she just gives a pretty basic answer that Mercedes can't change the fact that she's going to be the next TBS champion, and Statlander starts walking away. So Renee starts, running down like, oh yeah, Full Gear this time, place whatever, and then we hear tires screech and some metal clanging, I guess. And the camera turns to see a bunch of downed guardrails and Statlander, who is on the floor but seemingly okay. The camera then turns to see a truck that has just pulled in, and it runs up to the window, and we see Mercedes in the passenger seat and Camille as the driver, and Mercedes is chastising Camille that she had missed, asking if she is stupid or dumb, and then demanding Camille go get Statlander. However, by the time Camille got out of the car, Statlander had come running over. She opened the passenger side door and ripped Mercedes out of it and got Mercedes up above her head to attempt to power slam her off of the hood of the car. But Camille is able to come around the front of the car and prevent this, and her and Statlander start going at it. Statlander then bounces Camille's head off the side of the car and shoves her back, towards the back. And as Camille tries to catch her balance, she grabs the inside of the door. So Statlander slams the door on her left arm. Statlander then went after Mercedes, and she ducked a punch from her, and then basically grabbed Mercedes and essentially just rock bottomed her onto the hood of the car. And then the referee corps came over and broke everything up. So been a while since we had an attempted murder on Dynamite, but we attempted
maybe a week. All right, no, maybe a week at most. They definitely tried killing Chucky T, and they definitely tried killing Brian.
I guess that's fair. But yeah, attempted vehicular manslaughter we haven't seen in a while.
That's fresh. That's fresh.
So I think we've gotten two things here. One, Statlander's still awesome, and two, Camille can't drive.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know how to process this segment. Overall, I know I loved it because it was so fucking crazy. But what the hell happened? So, are we to believe that Camille and Mercedes, who are feuding with Statlander, accidentally almost ran her over?
Well, it was kind of left ambiguous because it accidentally, but at the same time, Mercedes says you missed her, but you only half hear it. So was Camille trying to hit her? Did I think it was a Chevy? Did the override kick in where you can't hit people anymore? And that prevented Camille from running her over. And now Mercedes is really mad at Camille, even though the robot did it. They did leave it slightly ambiguous, but. Yeah, it was kind of funny. It was very 90s cartoonish style of attempting to take somebody out.
Not since Rikishi and Stone Cold have we had this level of vehicular catastrophe.
I wish I could do the Rock's face while he does it. I did it for the Rock.
Yeah, just crazy. I love it. I don't know why Mercedes felt this is the person she needs to run over with a car. I love Stat, but I don't know what clicked with Mercedes. The only way I'm getting out of this is if I hit this person with the car. But overall, really funny. Stat looked like a beast.
Yeah,
Stat looked like an absolute beast.
Not even a car, by the way, a fucking Suburban.
Yeah,
there's a big difference between hitting somebody with a Sonata and a Suburban.
I think the biggest thing for me, though, is I'm really intrigued at what already seems to be some dissension between Mercedes and Camille.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I don't want or need Camille to be Mercedes' muscle or her heavy forever, but it does feel really soon.
Right? That was my thing. Mercedes is very clearly treating her like shit. But usually it takes a little while, or at least it's a little more subtle before we get to the you fucking suck portion of the boss being really annoying to their heavy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Very
Tensions
quick.
were high. I'll give her that. Tensions were high.
Now, unless they're doing that on purpose so that they can get rid of Camille and put Mercedes into the Hurt Syndicate, maybe that's why. But it still would feel quick, and then I just feel like Camille would end up being pretty quickly aimless.
Yeah.
So, unless she wins the TBS championship, but that would be dumb. Why would you put Mercedes in the Hurt Syndicate just for her to immediately lose her title?
No, I agree.
No. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very interesting that they're doing it this quickly. I'm sure there's a reason. I usually trust Tony with this kind of stuff, but not necessarily the women's division. And Mercedes booking has left something to be desired. Let's put it that way.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. All right. I want to quickly jump in the comments here for a second. With some good stuff. Saying that Hangman's new theme should be "Burning Down the House" by the Talking Heads. If it wasn't such a like upbeat song, it would work. I like Hangman's new theme. It's very dark.
Yeah.
You know, and it works really well for his character at the moment.
It's a nice bizarro version of his babyface theme, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then sticking with the women's division, I know we'll talk about this more in a bit, but kind of starting to hate Jamie Hayter. I was pulling for Miss Penelope Ford tonight. She's a cheeky girl.
Yeah.
Sure Kip would agree with you. But I'm a big fan of Hayter. But I like Ford too a lot. I'm glad they're both back. I think they're both big boosts to the women's division. So I'm excited to see what they end up doing in terms of
big what?
Like, boosts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, it's
bonk.
I'm fighting through something still, guys. So I do, in deference to James, I do sound a little bit off. If you haven't noticed. But as James tries to get his composure back together, I'll move on to our next segment, which was the purported face-to-face between Christian Cage and his patriarchy and Hook. So Christian came down with a lot of extra security, and he started off by explaining it, saying he wants a chance to explain himself to Hook when Hook eventually comes out, and the security is a way to prevent Hook from just running headlong into everything and not allowing Christian to explain. Cage then explains that Kip Sabian, who I just mentioned, has become an official member of the patriarchy, saying that after all of the cat and mouse, Kip just wanted a father figure since he is a fatherless loser like everyone else there in insert town name here. Cage says at the moment he knew what Kip wanted was when Kip interfered in Christian trying to sign his contract, and they showed the clip of it. I believe it was it at the pay-per-view or on Dynamite? I'm kind of...
I think it was Dynamite. I think it was with Okada.
It looked like Dynamite. Yeah, that's right. So we saw the highlight of Christian about to sign the contract, and Kip came over, tapped him on the shoulder, and then ran away. And instead of signing the contract, Christian chased him, and he very quickly ran into both Pac and Claudio Castignoli backstage. And Christian says that it was here where he realized what Kip was trying to doing. He was trying to save him from losing his contract because the Death Riders were clearly there to interfere with Christian should he attempt to cash in the contract. He then calls out the greatest thing any one of his sons has ever done for him as he stares down Nick Wayne and then tells Kip that he loves him and gives him a hug.
Maybe Vince wasn't wrong about Christian. Maybe Christian does fucking suck. Because why? Nick Wayne has done everything this guy has asked of him. Everything. I don't get it.
Because he's a heel, dude. That's the whole point.
But, like, all right, Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Syndicate are heels. I don't see MVP saying, well, Bobby's the best client I ever had, and then stare fucking daggers in the shoulder.
Yeah. Well, Christian also needs a new punching bag now that Killswitch isn't there.
Or we have two very dedicated sons who are doing everything they can for you. You're only going to build resentment towards one of them. I don't get it. I don't get it.
So I get it in the sense that eventually Nick will turn on Christian, but it does feel, as we just said, it feels a little early for that to happen. So, especially with Kip just joining. Now, I do kind of like the idea of the sibling rivalry where they go back and forth and try to one-up each other to get Christian's approval. But, and that could work. And then eventually one of them ends up either turning on Christian or whatever it may be. But still hilarious and interesting line from Christian. Anyway, after that warm embrace.
Hold on one thing. We joked about it. You joked about it a second ago when it comes to Penelope Ford and then Kip Sabian having opinions. This is a married adult. Why does he need a daddy? I don't get it. He's not a kid.
Still need a father figure in your life. So you still need a father figure in your life, married or not.
I agree. We all love our dads. Everyone.
I don't.
Everybody here loves their dad.
We're all individuals. I'm not.
But I don't think he needs a surrogate father figure at this stage in his life. Go home, cry into your wife's bosom, and just call it a day.
Yeah. But, I mean, it also has a good point. Christian's, not and everybody gets a trophy dad. Good for him. There's too much of that as it is. So you got to compete for your father's love.
What's happening? Oh, this is ridiculous.
This is what happens when I have a headache.
Anyways,
Hook then eventually comes out, and he tells Christian that he needs to be quick with his explanation because Hook clearly lacks in patience. And Cage actually takes advantage of that fact, saying that Hook is a wild card, a badass, an ass kicker, and he constantly runs headlong into trouble. But it's reasons like this why he wants Hook to be his son, because he thinks he can take Hook and mold him into an absolute champion. However, Christian says that he couldn't have that other voice in Hook's ear if he was going to be his son. So Christian admits to attacking Taz, but he then asks Hook a question. Taz saw Christian's face apparently during this attack. So why didn't Taz just tell Hook it was Christian instead of making Hook go and seek out the security footage? Could it possibly be because Taz knows that Christian can take him to higher heights? Christian says that Taz was the leader in a renegade promotion, a big fish in a small pond, but when he made it to the big time, he quickly failed, hung up his boots, and went hiding behind an announce desk. So Christian asked Hook if he would rather be an announcer or a respected multi-time champion like Christian Cage. Christian then takes things even further, saying as he looks around, it's very clear to him that nobody even cares that Taz is gone. So he wishes he had gone further in his attack so that there'd be nothing holding Hook back from becoming his son. And not to put a final point on it, Christian says that he wishes Hook's father was dead. This causes Hook to finally snap, and he rushes the ring, quickly getting around security, and then going through Kip, getting Christian in the red room before the security is able to recover, and Christian escapes with the rest of the patriarchy. Hook then takes out the security one by one, putting the last one in the red room as he just stares Christian down as he and his family are on the ramp.
Do you ever take a second and think, I'm watching a wrestling program. Why is somebody trying to kill somebody?
Not since the 90s, no. Well, I guess something no, because since I remember wrestling, and granted, I didn't watch it up until about 2009, whenever The Rock came back after his long way away.
Yeah.
My parents wouldn't let me watch it because people were trying to kill each other all the fucking time, or crucify them or hang them off a Hell in the Cell or, whatever it was. So to me, murder is just, or attempted murder is just a part of wrestling. The Undertaker has died, 3-4 times?
You can only bury a man alive so many times before you just say you're burying something that's dead.
Yeah, so, people try to kill people in wrestling. It's highly competitive. That's how it goes.
It's just so hard explaining to somebody. Yeah, I was watching this wrestling program last night, and then he tried, murdering him with a car. It gets complicated, but if you watch, you'll get it,
These are things you don't have to worry about because wrestling isn't real.
Oh, gosh. Anyway.
So yeah, this one was interesting. I don't really know what to say with this one. Christian did admit to attacking Taz, which I think I talked about the other week. We're clearly not going to see the footage here because Taz wasn't going to be able to do it. So we're just going to take his word for it. But the reason
he's just taking credit for it.
Yeah. Well, Hook very clearly saw the footage, but his reasoning for it is interesting. He wants Hook as a son. He even explained the attack last week was just that he needed to rein Hook in. It wasn't an attack out of malice, but out of love, which is why he called him by his real name. So Christian, in his absolutely delusional way, wants to love this kid. And I just think Hook is not fucking having it.
Would you?
Probably not. I mean, I don't know. If somebody attacked my dad, I'd be pretty
Okay,
with
let's
it,
not
but
say anything
I'm
that'll
the
force
wrong
people
person
to
to ask.
testify. Let's not say anything that'll make people be subpoenaed.
That's what you got for me. Take a big swig of your cranberry juice.
God, I wish this was a cranberry vodka.
All right, moving on. Actually, let me quickly go to, it's saying it's still real to him, damn it. And he approves of the tough love. And he also loves wrestling as a wrestling. Who doesn't? I rewatched it again on Saturday. It still holds up outside of, Max. But the rest of it holds up.
Well, it's still real to me, like a fan who did that in the crowd?
Yes, but I think those were two separate comments.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, that was like something. It's still real to me, damn it. Like it was somebody like crying or something. I forget what it was. All right. Anyway, let's now move on. I'm not doing the greatest job here tonight, but here we are.
No, you're doing. Everybody, round of applause for Rev, who's battling through, not feeling well to be here with us tonight.
My head feels like it's going to pop. I think that's the best way to put it. So, moving on. I'm having a hard time with the transitions. That's what it really is. Anyway, so we went backstage for an interview with that carny piece of shit, Don Callis. And Alex Marvez is there to ask Callis about his new tag team of Lance Archer and Brian Cage. And Callis starts bragging about them, but he's quickly interrupted by a very large man in a suit. It was very intimidating.
I was so excited for this large man. I don't know why, but his look was just like, I want to see this man wrestle.
Yeah, I immediately thought, I was like, is this dude want to join the Don Callis family? And because Marvez was like,
right? That's what I thought he was doing. I thought he was paying tribute.
Marvez like, who the hell are you? And he was even taken aback by this person. But the man handed Callis an envelope, and which was eventually shown to be full of money, and a ring box, which Callis opens and smiles at. The man then says that he has a message and reveals a phone message, which is from MJF. Max says that he needs Don to take care of a problem for him. He said a type of problem, but I didn't quite make it out. I don't know if you heard it, James. I don't know if he said a coal problem or.
I mean, even if he didn't say it, we know that's what he means.
Yes, but he referenced a specific problem. Excuse me. So forgive me for not quite catching it. But then Max continues on to say that there's plenty more envelopes of cash where that came from if he gets the job done. He also tells Don that he better not scratch his ring, saying that there are plenty of other people who can put some scratches on him. The man then leaves, and Don takes out the Dynamite diamond ring and puts it on his hand and admires it, saying it looks pretty good on him. So
I can't wait for the day MJF loses the Dynamite Battle Royal, the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal. I cannot wait for a day that somebody else actually wins that diamond ring, because it's going to be a great storyline.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I've loved Max having it for all of these years. It
suits his character.
Yeah, it really does. But at some point, there's going to be somebody. I think the only person who can win it is somebody who's even more than evil than he is, in terms of the way he's evil. Where he's more of a douchebag. He's willing to go lower than Max is, and I know that's going to be very difficult to find. But I feel like that's the type of character I want to see take it. I want somebody to usurp Max as the devil.
See, I like that angle. I also wouldn't mind someone like Bobby Lashley winning it, where it's just a gaudy piece of celebratory jewelry, which is what it is. But it's just something to make him feel like a bigger boss.
Yeah, it would also look great on him, and then B, it would look pretty good on MVP when he's wearing it around while Bobby's in the ring.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It does fit fits the style of the Hurt Syndicate very, very well.
I think so.
That's a good choice. If somebody else is going to get it, and it's not going to be that type of storyline,
because it shouldn't ever be a face.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Even when Max had it and he was a face, it did serve the purpose of, he's going to use it. Oh, no, he's not. But it didn't. It was almost just window dressing at that point.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I think my only thing, the reason I like it a little bit better my way is just because I think the first time he loses it, it needs to serve a bigger story.
I agree.
After that, then I think it could go to somebody like Bobby.
Yeah.
But that's a once-a-year thing, so.
Yeah. So we're talking 2 years down the line. Bobby Lashley's going to be great.
And who knows when the next Battle Royal is? They just kind of randomly appear. I feel like
no, it's usually
Tony just remembers at one point.
It's usually at Winter is Coming.
Oh, yeah.
It's usually in December.
Guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Because it's ice.
Yeah. I'm just gonna move on. I'm not gonna top that. I'm not topping that. I'm gonna keep it rolling.
You're going
We rolled into our next match. We saw Jamie Hayter against Penelope Ford. I don't know why I put backstage interview there, so I will fix that. As I run down the end of the match here, where after she hit a running knee out of the corner, Hayter was able to hit a brain buster and then went for a lariat, but Penelope Ford was able to hit the Matrix and duck the lariat and then follow that up with a cutter, and then Ford went for the pin and Hayter was able to kick out of it. Ford then got Hayter up on her shoulders, but Hayter escaped and quickly got in that short arm lariat Hayterade for the win. James, this kind of happened last week, and it happened again this week, where the women's match was back in the time slot of death, and it was very short, while still being pretty good. Last week, it was Stat and Camille, which was annoying, and a lot of it was during commercial. At least this one was, shown in its totality, but still very short. So I'm a little upset that you had these two returning women who are people or wrestlers that people really want to watch, and they ended up in this spot because I feel like they could definitely do more.
No, I agree with you. This was a little bit of a bummer, especially because we are so happy to have Hayter back. We are so happy to have Penelope Ford back. I feel like I blinked and this match was over. And that's probably an over-exaggeration. I don't know how short it was, but it did feel short.
It was probably 5 minutes.
I guess they just wanted to get Hayter's first story out of the way so they could just move on to her maybe going for the title after Full Gear. But I still don't think that this match deserves so little time.
Yeah.
But happy to have them both back on TV. Happy to have them both wrestling on Dynamite. Happy to see that Kip Sabian's wife isn't enough for him. Sorry, it just bothers me, man. It just bothers me. But good time seeing them, just not enough. Not enough.
Yeah, 100% agreed. And what they were able to do in their short amount of time though was very good.
Was impressive, Penelope hit a picture perfect moonsault off the top rope. She missed, but it was a beautiful looking moonsault. Yeah,
no, she is so very good in the ring, especially because when she first started in AEW, or you could even really go back to, because I saw somebody put this on Reddit a little while ago. I think it was like right when she came back, of when the first time she really got like a huge pop was when she attacked Hangman at the original All In.
Yeah.
And she busted out some moves there, and everyone was like, holy shit, she can do that? Because she wasn't really a wrestler yet. She was just kind of Joey Janela's girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
So she has come a long way, and she has put in a lot of work to become a very good wrestler.
As somebody, again, who was at that All In, amazed by what she was able to do. And I had high hopes for her when she signed with AEW. And I'm glad that for the most part, like, you got to remember, she's basically a day one for AEW.
Yeah.
So I really hope, I believe a TBS title is in her future.
Yeah, so. I definitely think so, because she's a great contender for either of the titles, somebody you can heat up very quickly and put them in that position. I also think at some point, she deserves to be a TBS champion, maybe even a women's champion, depending on, or AEW women's champion, depending on how that goes. But I think there's a lot of people right in front of her.
Yeah, she and Allie,
but I do really like her as a talent, and I know exactly where you're going. Yeah, with Allie, the Bunny, and their team together, because they were
they in my opinion, they had a strong, like, if there was a tag title back then for the women, they had a strong argument to be the first tag team title holders.
Yeah. Could you imagine that feud with Ty Conti and Anna Jay was for tag titles? That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would
Not that it needed that because it was a great feud, but it would have added that much more stakes.
Dude, you're making me miss Ty Conti.
Yeah. So
she's supposedly
happy.
going to be back soon.
Yeah. Honestly, as of she's happy being a mom from what I could see from Sammy's vlog. So I'm sure she's enjoying herself. But it would be nice to see her back in the ring. Just to hit the comments really quick on this match, it's saying Hayter is going to turn heel soon. He's feeling it, and he thinks that it's her new look that's bothering him. She has changed her look a little bit. I think we were kind of talking about this the other week when she came back, James. It does feel very Austin Powers 2 in Austin's pad. Like, it's a very late 60s. But I like it. I like it.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's unique. It's different. And that's good. In wrestling, different and unique is good.
Yeah. I'm going to miss her old hair, though. The black with the blonde streak on the front. But the red, I guess it's red. It looks good. And Hayter as a heel is unbelievable. I will agree with it on that one. But she was.
I swear to you, this is the first time my brain is registering that her hair is different.
And I'm colorblind. Yeah, it's like reddish or like almost like a rust color, I guess. I'm kind of guessing on this one. But
how did I not recognize that?
Yeah, it doesn't. Well, it hates it. But you've been so focused on her changing her gear that you didn't notice her hair change colors.
I noticed the new hairstyle, like that it was all like blown out and everything. How did I not notice that it was a different color?
This is like hey ill levels of just James getting whooshed on something so obvious. Like, how did you not notice?
I'm going to share a story. I'm going to share a story with you.
Oh God, here we go.
The first year that I was dating Allie, she then got a piercing here.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that she had this piercing for months. And I go to her one day, oh, when did you get that? She's like, I have had this for so long now. How have you not felt it? I genuinely didn't have an answer. I couldn't process that this piercing was on her face for months.
I will say, at my brother's wedding this past weekend, which was lovely, my now sister-in-law had dyed her hair a much darker color. She'd been very blonde for a while, and she went back to more of closer to her natural hair color. And everybody came up to me because they were too afraid to ask her or my brother if she had dyed her hair. And I was like, I'm pretty sure. It was one of those things where it's like, I know she did, but I'm never good at that shit. Like, you have to like extremely change something. It's like, pretty sure she did. And then I was like, oh, so when did you dye your hair? And she goes, oh, like the other day. It's like, yes, I was right. So, James, you got to notice the very obvious shit.
Dude, when I tell you I'm looking at her right now, and my mind is just not it feels like I'm on dial-up right now. It just feels off here.
That's how I feel in general right now, but I'm surprised. That's mad funny. It's saying that Jamie's hair looks a little too much like Becky's, which is why he thinks he doesn't like it. Maybe that's why I don't mind it, because everything Becky is good. But I do miss the old hairstyle. It was.
I do miss it. Yeah, no, she looks great no matter what. She's a beautiful woman, but I gotta make some I gotta work on me.
You gotta work on like noticing things. Remember I said before I heard something but I wasn't listening? You're seeing things, but you're looking at things, but you're not seeing them. There is a difference, kids.
This was an eye-opener. Literally. Okay.
The glass shattering moment.
Right? Fuck.
Well, let's let James recompose himself again in this episode. It's like the fourth time. Speaking of beautiful women, we had a promo package for Mina Shirakawa. She's coming back next week. It is important to note that when they put that up with the QR code, half of it went black and white.
Yeah.
So you can only imagine who that means. We also then, coming back from commercial, had a quick promo package I mentioned earlier for Kazuchika Okada as the Continental Classic is coming back, and they've been promoting that. And they are promoting it through him being one of the greatest round robin tournament wrestlers ever.
Well, they're not even just saying round robin. They're saying he's the greatest tournament wrestler of all time.
Yeah, and I guess you could argue that. But I just, it's the G1 that I think they're really focusing on there because it's the same format as the Continental Classic.
Yeah, of course.
After this, we moved on to our main event, which was Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher against Ricochet and this mystery partner. So, after the Don Callis family's entrance, Ricochet makes his entrance, and he's on a microphone and calls the two of them idiots for letting him pick anyone in AEW. Because he went and did some research and found out that as of October 4th, a certain person's contract with the Don Callis family had expired. And that person is pretty pissed off that the family has pretty much abandoned him. And so Ricochet introduces his partner, my man, Powerhouse Hobbs.
Powerhouse?
Oh, I was so hyped.
Happy.
Right? It was great. Not the context I thought he'd be returning in, but still very, very happy that he is back. Also, death taxes and a moth coming into my room during the episode. I really need to take my AC unit out, but it's fucking easy to freeze.
Who's more consistent, the moth or Kreider in front of the net?
Oh, Kreider in front of the net. He does it like 70 times a year. Seriously, though, it's 80 degrees out. That's why I haven't taken the AC unit out. Like, it's fucking February. No, it's Cummings. That's an S on my last name. And she's not taking it. Anyway, the last name, very sensitive.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, it's Powerhouse Hobbs. We're excited. Big meaty man slapping meat is back on the menu, boys. Anyway, we actually saw some really cool early chemistry from Ricochet and Hobbs. Ricochet did a moonsault to the outside off of Hobbs' shoulders onto both men, but that advantage was very short-lived. And Hobbs, did this stupid babyface thing of distracting the referee, and the family took advantage and kicked the shit out of Ricochet for a while. As we came out of commercial break, we actually flashed backstage as we saw Adam Cole watching the match, and it was announced here that he will be facing Takeshita next week on Dynamite. Non-title match, but this was obviously the work of Don Callis after MJF paid him off a few moments earlier in the show. So we got that whole setup. We could talk about that in a bit. Later in the show, big meaty men slapping meat, as I mentioned. Hobbs hit an avalanche power slam onto Takeshita and went for the pin, but Fletcher came in and broke it up. This only served to piss Hobbs off even more, so he just manhandled Fletcher and tossed him out of the ring, and that allowed Takeshita to lay in a vicious right forearm that got Hobbs down to a knee. But Hobbs got back up, and as I said, big meaty men slapping meat as they just teed off on each other for a little while, which got the meat chance. Shout out to the crowd. I don't remember where they were tonight, but good job on that. We haven't heard a meat chant in a while. It's needed.
Have we gotten the meat match that Tony promised us yet, or no?
No, but I imagine he was waiting for Hobbs to come back.
Right? Yeah.
I feel like he is an integral part of that match.
Yeah.
Eventually, Takeshita ended up hitting a German suplex, but Hobbs was able to get up, bounce off the ropes, and follow up with a massive lariat that put both men down and forced them to crawl over to their corners to make the tag. A bit later in the match, we got a really cool sequence where Ricochet was up top and going for a 450 on Takeshita, but Takeshita rolled out of the way, so Ricochet rolled through. Takeshita then met him as Ricochet came back across the ring and hit him with a jumping knee, and then went for a German suplex, but Ricochet somehow fucking landed on his feet. So Ricochet went for the Poison Rana and just didn't have the momentum, and Takeshita was able to get him back up onto his shoulders, walk him over to the corner where Fletcher was, and Fletcher went up top to hit a doomsday device. And then shit hit the fan. I just got so fast-paced, it was hard to keep up, so forgive me if I missed a few things. But we had a Ricochet going for a springboard Rana, and then Takeshita caught him, so Ricochet countered the power bomb that Takeshita attempted into a roll-up that Takeshita kicked out of. Ricochet then somehow got Takeshita into the corner as Hobbs was just on the outside taking Fletcher out of the commission. And Takeshita was in the corner, and Ricochet went up top and hit a shooting star press, but Takeshita kicks out of it. And then Ricochet followed that up with, I believe, what Excalibur called the Spirit Gun. Ricochet loaded up something in the corner, shot Takeshita, and then hit him with a sliding lariat. And he was able to pin Takeshita with that for the win. So Ricochet pin over the international champion. Very interesting. Following the match, Fletcher grabbed a chair and he quickly took out Hobbs, going after Hobbs' previously injured leg before jumping into the ring and taking out Ricochet with it. Fletcher then started setting up for the Tiger Driver 91. But Mark Davis, formerly of Aussie Open, or I guess still of Aussie Open.
Right. It's very confusing.
Well, that's a dead tag team, so whatever. Davis came out and he got Fletcher off of Ricochet, and he's like, what the fuck? And they start going back and forth, and that led to a shoving match. And eventually Davis shoves Fletcher to the mat, and that led Lance Archer and Brian Cage to come out to the ring, taking out Davis and setting him up for Fletcher. So as this was happening, Adam Cole then decided to come out and try to make the save, but he's met on the ramp by Takeshita, since they're going to be wrestling next week, and the two just battled into the back, and we never saw or heard from them ever again. What's the Simpsons character? It's like, what's his name? Had to go back to his planet. I don't know why that popped in my head. Yeah. Poochie him. Had to go, died on his way back to his home planet. Anyway, Archer and Cage continued to hold Davis down, and Fletcher jumped out of the ring and got the screwdriver from underneath the ring and was going to take out Davis with it. However, we got the return of Will Ospreay, and Billy Boy comes down and goes after Fletcher, but he is briefly stopped by Cage and Archer. However, Hobbs was able to recover, and he got back in the ring and hit a spine buster on Archer as Davis was able to take out Cage and drive him out of the ring. This leaves Fletcher open, and a recovered Ricochet landed a rising knee, and then Ospreay set up for the hidden blade, but Fletcher was able to avoid it and ducked out of the ring as the Don Callis family retreated, and the faces stood tall to end the show. So, James, this match was really fun.
It was.
We got a lot of good stuff. The Takeshita Powerhouse Hobbs big meaty bench slap and meat thing was great. Like I said, we hadn't got one in a while. We definitely needed some. Takeshita versus Ricochet is definitely a great match that we need to get one-on-one, and we're definitely going to, because Ricochet just pinned the champ. So I imagine we're going to probably see that at Full Gear. Plus, I imagine it's going to lead to some shenanigans next week with Cole.
Are we going to Full Gear?
Sure, why not?
Right.
Obviously, as I said, we have Cole Takeshita next week, and we are most likely setting up for Fletcher Ospreay at Full Gear. So a lot of stuff happening here. I think that the new Don Callis family with the new additions is playing very nicely together in terms of their chemistry and the way everything's going for them. And don't be surprised within the next week or two we see a big 8-man tag between all of the people involved in the end of this match. Maybe even a 10 if they include Cole and Takeshita.
I enjoyed all of this. I enjoyed all the players having a moment. We got to acknowledge that Fletcher is just Randy Orton now, right?
Okay, so I texted you this, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, that Fletcher, especially when he's wearing those round glasses, looks just like Woody Harrelson on the cover of Natural Born Killers. Tell me I'm wrong.
All right, you're not wrong. It's there. It is there. But he's kind of Randy, too.
He's the little Randy-ish.
Like, he hit the hanging off the ropes DDT.
Oh, did he?
He did. He hit the hanging off the ropes DDT. And then at the end of the match, as they're all posing, his pose was this.
Oh, he did the...
Like, it was very Randy-ish. The bald head, the new ring gear, it's all Randy.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to figure some stuff out as this is the first time he's being this heel version of himself. So
I'm not criticizing. If I was somebody his age and I grew up watching wrestling and I was going to emulate somebody, there's worse that you could do than emulating Randy Orton. But what I want to know is it on purpose? Because if not, that's hilarious.
I'm gonna have to watch him more closely now and be like, all right, let me see what he's doing, how Randy-esque it is.
He is a power slam away from being fucking Randy Orton.
That and a cutter.
Who had a good cutter tonight? Out of nowhere.
Penelope.
Yes, it was out of the Matrix.
After the Matrix, yeah. That was the part of the MC.
I didn't acknowledge it before. It bothered me that like it was so clear. Like I grew up on that being the Matrix because Trish did that all the time.
Right.
Nobody ever did that before. And they obviously called it the Matrix because
Excalibur said she hit the Matrix and then it specified then she hit the cutter. So like you kind of separated it into two moves.
Yeah. But regardless, Fletcher, Randy Orton. I feel bad for Mark Davis because I don't know about you, and maybe I'm just being pessimistic. His future doesn't look bright.
He's in a weird spot because he was out for so long and Fletcher became not only a clear viable single star, but a good one at that. He's going to have to find his new place as a singles guy. And to ease him back in, it's very clearly going to be, hey, I'm, Kyle's ex-friend and I'm still on Will's side.
Yeah.
But then after that, it's going to be a little difficult for him to figure out where he belongs. And hopefully he's able to do so.
His best hope is that Will starts another group.
Yeah.
Like that's really what he needs to rely on. Or he, I don't know, like gets absorbed and turns heel for the Don Callis family. Because I feel bad saying it because you never know when somebody could pop off. But yeah, looking rough.
Yeah.
Ospreay being what?
I hope he's okay. I think he's
me too. Me too. Ospreay being back, fantastic. So happy he's back. So happy that Will's back.
Crowd got a good pop for him too.
And he's missed on TV. He's like he brings in energy, man.
He really does.
Energy. What?
They say he really does. There weren't enough bruvs on my TV the last few weeks.
So our Don Callis family right now, as it stands, is Takeshita.
Yep.
Fletcher, Cage, and Archer.
Yeah.
With Cage and Archer being the tag team. Fletcher being like, I don't want to say the centerpiece, but like, I guess like the character, like the storyline character for everyone to go around.
Yeah.
And Takeshita being the ace of the group.
Yep. And the international champion.
Yeah. It's not bad. Compared to where we were a little while ago with the family, this is pretty good.
Yeah, considering, all the injuries and how thin their ranks were getting. And the fact that I think for a small while there, LFI or LFJ was LFI. Like they were part of it. Like it was a little bit of a jumble there. And now they've replenished their ranks with, I think, guys who make sense for the group. And, Kyle has been a revelation in the last few weeks, I think. And Takeshita is just the man. I will always say I had that first. I was right. And yeah, I'm really excited about this group. And I now think that no Hobbs was needed and he can move on to other things, which we'll talk about in a second. And obviously, I don't think, unfortunately for him, you don't need Trent there either. So when Trent returns, he could do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, forgot about Trent, but you're absolutely right.
Forgot about Dre. Speaking of Hobbs, though, I do want to talk about him because this is something we teased earlier in the show. He makes his return as Ricochet's partner. And it's saying somehow I thought Hobbs would return via the Hurt Syndicate. And this, it is actually a perfect transition because the guy who is currently being teased of joining the Hurt Syndicate is, in fact, Ricochet. So the fact that these two guys are now going to have this small relationship, at least to start, this is the way that he's brought back in. And very obviously, the Hurt Syndicate has their eyes on Ricochet. They said earlier in the show they were going to be watching his match tonight. It's very obvious that they saw Hobbs and what he can do, and he would make a very obvious recruit for the Hurt Syndicate. So whether or not they join together or it turns out that Ricochet declines the Hurt Syndicate's offer and Hobbs accepts, I think you have a pretty interesting storyline with whatever way they decide to go, assuming that Hobbs does end up with MVP and the rest of that crew.
I think if I had it my way, you have Ricochet and Hobbs join as a tag team. You have Shelton be the middle guy, the underboss.
Yeah.
And you have Bobby be the final boss. And what do you think?
I'm processing that because I was thinking if it's just Ricochet, he does kind of slide into that Cedric role, and then you would think it would be Shelton and Ricochet. But if you bring in Hobbs as well, you can do it with Hobbs and Shelton as your tag team and let Ricochet be the singles guy. Just because I think they would rather showcase Ricochet more as a singles wrestler. And then that gives Shelton, a little bit of a reprieve considering, he's still athletic, more athletic than most people, but he is in his 40s, right?
47 or 48.
Yeah, exactly.
So you crazy.
Yeah, but you give him a bit of a reprieve being in a tag team, and it allows Hobbs to work with somebody who is just insanely athletic, and especially if
49.
Man looks like he did when he was, hanging out with his mom backstage. But right. You know what I mean? I think Hobbs in the Syndicate just works well because I think him being mentored by two bigger athletic guys would be great for him. Him working with Lashley, working with Shelton, whether it, not just in the ring in terms of, on the TV and stuff, but learning from them backstage and everything would be perfect for them. And then I think that tag team of Shelton and Hobbs would be awesome. Who the fuck is stopping that?
Yeah. And I think that's the thing too, because Shelton has been booked beautifully since coming in.
Yeah. It's really easy when you're wrestling smaller athletic dudes that you could just toss around. But
admittedly, Shelton's also moving like he's a cruiserweight himself with some of the things he's doing.
Yeah.
But I am in agreement with you. I think no matter how you do it, though, what's his name? Hobbs needs to be in the tag team because his style is too similar to Bobby. You don't want him to feel like Bobby Light.
Mm-hmm.
So I think putting him in the tag team protects him there. Bobby's 48.
Shelton's older than Bobby, huh?
But those men look like they're in their early 30s.
Yeah. We all know the saying. I don't need to say it, but it's true. Moisturize, people. That's the key difference with white people. We don't moisturize, and look what happens.
Jesus Christ. Fair enough.
But yeah, I really want to see Hobbs in that group. I think he would thrive there. That snarl alone qualifies him for the Hurt Syndicate. And look, if you put Ricochet in there, great. I think he would thrive there as well. And I think he would be a great person, someone you could showcase more often in the singles division, in and around the area of the International Championship, or you put him in the Continental Classic. I think he'd be really fun in there. But I think you could also do that even if he doesn't go into the group, and then we can see who, if anybody else, joins. I don't know if we want this group getting up to 7-8 people.
I think 4 to 5 is the number.
Yeah. But could be 4 to 5, and then maybe 6 with Mercedes if she does join?
That would be different, but yes, yeah.
Because I think 5 is the right number.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if Ricochet doesn't join, maybe it's Caster, maybe it's Leo Rush, somebody else who MVP gave a card to. So or maybe those people join up and try to help Ricochet take these guys down. And Swerve, I might add. They need to build a coalition. So
my hope, there's no reason to believe this will happen, but hope. I really, really want Swerve to need backup, and he brings in Keith Lee. And Swerve and Our Glory reuniting for this one-off would be fantastic. Granted, I have no idea what the status is of Keith Lee health-wise. He could still very much not be in play. I don't know how you justify it, considering the last time these two men interacted, they tried killing each other.
Bricks were used. Cinder blocks, excuse me.
Cinder blocks were used and destroyed. But I want it so badly. Give me Keith Lee versus Bobby Lashley.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Big meeting. Or Keith Lee. I don't know if we had it, but Lee versus Hobbs would also be great.
I want it.
Big
No, it definitely happened.
Slapping meat.
It definitely happened because I think Swerve and Our Glory fought against Team Taz.
Yeah, I recall. I seem to recall the two of them stepping into the ring with each other because we were so excited for it.
Oh God, salivating.
Yeah. A couple notes from here in the chat. He's saying he wants a Hobbs and Ricochet versus Bobby and Shelton match before either of them join. And if it is just going to be one of them, I think that would be a good way to set up the betrayal, where you're having this tag match and then presumably Hobbs turns on Ricochet and joins the Hurt Syndicate. So I think that would be the best way to do that if it's only going to be one of them. If it's going to be both of them, as much as I would like to see that match, unless you do you need 3 guys. Never mind. I was gonna say if you have Swerve in there too, and they just both turn on Swerve, but never mind. And then going back to the Callis family, I think that there's a secret member of Don's group that is yet to be revealed and will make his betrayal at some time in the near future, and possibly could be Davis, as James mentioned. If they think he's going to, sync without being with Fletcher or being in a group, and they don't really have a group for Ospreay at the moment, maybe Davis eventually, the beatings continue until morale improves and he just Stockholm syndromes his way into the family. So it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. But all right, that was Dynamite, and I thought this was a very good show.
I did too.
I think we had some great matches. We had obviously 2 great returns at the end of the show with Hobbs and Ospreay. Low key, I'm a little more excited to see Hobbs back, but I think that's just because he's been out for so long. And that match was awesome. We had a pretty good match in the Death Riders versus Cassidy and Darby, but the end kind of muddied it, but it did continue that storyline, and is still a storyline I'm very intrigued in. So I'm willing to let it slide. The Adam Cole Malaki Black match, I think, was the other match of the night for me, because that was great. Awesome. We set up some more stuff with Full Gear, including just continuation of Switchblade and Hangman. And I think for me, the thing that's going to continue the conversation for a little while is the official introduction of the Hurt Syndicate and the possibilities we were just discussing of who's going to be joining them.
They're at 3 members if you include MVP.
Yep.
Who would you add?
I honestly, I like the idea of Hobbs and Ricochet joining. I think Ricochet is being very clearly teased, and him dressing in the suits, he's looking the part. I kind of mentioned this when you had briefly stepped away there. At the end of their interaction earlier, Ricochet kind of eyed their suits and eyed his, and fixed it up. And now it could just be red herring and a misdirect, but Ricochet has just kind of been Ricochet for a really long time now, and him joining the Hurt Syndicate and becoming a heel could be a very nice, refreshing change of pace for him, just because he's been the same guy for so long.
It's true.
And the scenario we just talked about, where Bobby on top, MVP is the mouthpiece, Ricochet being that the kind of the workhorse of the group, taking care of the mid card stuff, whether he's, like I said before, joining the Continental Classic, going after your international title, the TNT title, whatever it may be, and you have the absolutely insane tag team of Hobbs and Shelton. That's a fucking crew.
Yeah.
And I will buy that merch so fast. Honestly, that would be an awesome crew. I would absolutely love to see that. So that's my dream team for the Syndicate right there. If it doesn't work out with Ricochet, so be it. But I think you got to get Hobbs in there at the minimum.
Yeah, I think Hobbs is a definite. I'd rather Leo, but that's just because I'm nostalgic.
Yeah, I guess. But I don't know.
I get it.
I was almost a little surprised that MVP offered Leo a card, because you would think Bobby would just be like, nah, this man failed me. You know?
I don't think that was real though. Like Bobby, even when he was a heel, was protecting Leo back on Raw.
True.
Like
I
he had a
don't
soft spot
remember.
for Leo.
Yeah, I don't remember that storyline as much as I maybe should. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's a good reason. You know, I kept having to block out his favorite pose, but I don't really remember how it ended. Like, I don't remember if Bobby turned on Leo or
no, Leo got fired.
Oh yeah, just Leo ended up getting fired. So yeah, maybe Bobby just still likes him.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe there is a soft spot for Leo. But yeah, if it's not Ricochet, yeah, you can have Leo. But I just think Ricochet adds such another dimension to the group.
Him. I think he benefits more from being in the group than Leo does.
Yeah, Leo's already with the Top Flight anyway,
and it looks like they're turning heel too.
Yeah, so I think Ricochet, it benefits him more from a character perspective, and I think he benefits the group more than Leo does, because he's much more credible to bring home gold to that stable than Leo would be.
Yeah, and we both agree, no caster.
Yeah, at that point, 5 people I feel like is enough.
Yeah,
you know, because I could see Caster and Bowens trying to help Swerve in taking them out.
That would, no pun intended, but like that would be a good Swerve in itself.
Yeah, because they've already teamed up before. You know, they were in the together,
Blood and Guts.
Yeah, and Blood and Guts together, and they don't like each other, but they move past it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we gotta move past it again because these guys suck more.
Yeah,
so you know, you just kind of need one more, and maybe that's Leo or somebody else they got who got a card. But I'm trying to think of who knows. There might have been people on
Collision or Rampage.
Collision. Yeah. So
fascinating.
Yeah, but I think that is, despite all the good wrestling and the stuff coming up to Full Gear, that is my main takeaway from tonight. It's just the possibilities of the Hurt Syndicate are so exciting to me.
Oh no, dude, I was such a mark for the Hurt Business in WWE. So the fact that they're here in AEW is just tickling me pink.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it. And the rest of the show, there was a lot of promising stuff. Like you said, Cole and Malaki, great stuff. I wish the women got a little more time, but still I'm glad that they were featured at all. Camille tried killing somebody today. That's always a lot of fun.
It was prevented by OnStar.
Yeah. I will say there was one storyline that, take away the match itself, because I thought the match was fun despite the finish. The Death Rider stuff it feels like they're dragging it a bit. That they need Full Gear to happen quick.
Yeah.
Because they just got to get through Orange being there. Yeah,
and they still got a few weeks here. So I think it's the 23rd. So you got 2 more Dynamites.
Yeah.
Damn, only 2 more weeks, or 2.5 more weeks. But
see, that's the crazy thing. We're getting a pay-per-view a month now at this point, yet it feels like their pacing is more off than when it was when they had like 4 pay-per-views a year.
Because even then, I feel like it was pay-per-view and then 2 months big Dynamite, 2 months pay-per-view, 2 months big Dynamite, 2 months. So, and yeah, now I don't know if it's off, but I guess it kind of just depends on when people come in and stuff. It is kind of
like,
weird.
It feels like they've told all the story there is to tell with this Orange Cassidy storyline right now. Like, there's not another promo that they can cut, really, that is necessary. I guess you could have a match where Orange takes on one of them one-on-one. But whatever, whatever.
Yeah. Because the only thing they're really building to right now in that match is not Orange versus Moxley. It's what about Wheeler?
Exactly. And I think it's a matter of time before Yuta actually does get kicked out of the group.
Yeah.
And they keep teasing it. They keep red herring us with it. But I actually do think he's going to get kicked out and Jack Perry's going to take his spot.
Yeah. No, I fully came around on your way of thinking last week on the show.
Yeah,
because
and
it makes way too much sense.
and no Perry tonight, which is interesting.
Yeah, well, the Elite kind of bailed, so
Well, no,
understand why
the
he's not
Bucks
there.
bailed.
Yeah,
The Bucks bailed, and also crazy that no Daniel Garcia.
that was a little interesting too. It was the Conglomeration that made the save tonight, and not Garcia and Private Party, who just won the titles and weren't there. I guess they're still partying. No Top Flight there for the save either. It did, granted, we did mention this. They set up for the match, I think, on Collision, where they're going to have the Death Riders defend their trios title against the Conglomeration. But, I mean, I guess that's the only real reason they did it. And then I guess everyone's probably been bitching that, like, are they not going to help Orange?
Yeah.
At some point they kind of had to. So, though I guess it kind of makes sense there. But yeah, a couple of notable absences tonight, but I don't think it took away from the show.
Can we talk about something real quick before we hang it up for the night? Something that's AEW adjacent.
Sure.
How do you feel about Kenny Omega coming back, making his first real return at New Japan and not AEW?
Well, it's at Wrestle Dynasty, isn't it? Which is a co-branded show. I know he made a return yesterday to help set up for it, but
I think that's the thing, because I don't think his first match is going to be at Wrestle Dynasty. I think he's going to wrestle before then. But the fact that they announced his return, like he showed up on a New Japan.
Yeah.
I think it was at Power Struggle. He showed up at Power Struggle and then set up for a match at Wrestle Dynasty.
Yeah. With who again?
Do you feel that he...
Do you remember with who? Or was it with
nobody
anybody?
official yet? He wants to face an up-and-comer. The running theory is it's going to be Gabe Kidd, the person who took out Eddie Kingston.
No, they did kind of set that up to an extent. So, and then I think, quick side note, I think they're also setting up Moxley versus Shota. But
I'm very intrigued by that. Very intrigued. But how do you feel? Do you think Kenny should have made his first real return appearance at AEW or what?
I mean, it just kind of stole my train of thought there. Like, I'm okay with it since it's New Japan. Like, if it was freaking like GCW, I'd probably be upset. But they're setting up for a big show with a co-branded show, and so I'm a little more okay with it. I hope Kenny comes back soon, but I think it also kind of lets us know in the back of our mind, like, okay, Kenny will be back. It's just a matter of he's going to pick his spot. Whereas now it's like, is Kenny coming back? Question mark. Now it's, when's Kenny coming back?
I have it in my head. He is going to be a surprise entrant in the Continental Classic, setting up for Kenny versus Okada 5.
That would be batshit insane.
That it would.
Because bringing him back, and I know it's different than the G1, but bringing him back to do that style of tournament as his first real action back is banana lands. Like, you gotta let the guy ramp up a little bit.
I agree.
You just want to throw him in the deep end.
Yeah, I do. I miss him very much. Do I miss him? I will say, and this is just me, when he comes back, he needs to be a fixture on Dynamite, not on Collision.
Yeah.
He needs to be a fixture on Dynamite because I have it in my head. He's one of the few people that could actually bring people back into like the ratings for Dynamite.
Yeah. And I also think too that when he does come back, it'll probably end up being with this whole Moxley thing. I know everyone wants this Okada match again, and I imagine it's going to happen, and it will. But he does make sense to bring back as a guy who is there to help take down Moxley.
See, I agree, but it's weird. I agree, but it's weird because if you have Kenny come back and you have him confront Moxley in that group, I don't want him to lose that because he's just coming back. But Kenny should not be the guy to unseat Moxley. It should be someone who's never won before. It should be someone like Orange. It should be someone like Darby. So unless Kenny says something along the lines of, I'm going to help in this fight, but I'm not worthy to take out Moxley because of everything I've done in AEW. I need to redeem myself. I don't know. I feel like it's a rough position to bring him back into. But I agree. The whole thing is leading to the Bucks and the Elite versus the BCC, the Death Riders. That's going to take me a minute. I apologize.
It's okay.
It's going to take me a minute, but
it's all right. I called him the hurt business a little while ago, so.
And I'm sure I will do that as well.
Yeah, but I think that you're not bringing him back to face off against Moxley one-on-one. I think you're bringing him back to like help a group of people. Like he's that last piece of the puzzle.
I would die if this somehow led to him and the Bucks taking the trios titles. If that happens, I think we just wave the white flag.
Son of a bitch. I don't think that'll happen. But I think Kenny, at least in the short term, is probably going to only be able to wrestle so many dates just because he's coming back, and God only knows like how his body is going to react.
20 feet of intestines. So
yeah. Blessing on Kenny. How hyped were you that he returns to his old theme?
Oh, I mean, I love Battle Cry for AEW. I do.
Yeah, but it's a great face theme for him.
It is. But his New Japan's music hits like crack.
It really does. Like, I wish he could have used it when he was heel, because Battle Cry it's too like hype for a heel.
Yeah.
You know, you need something low down and dirty like his New Japan theme.
Oh God, it's so good. It's final boss music in the same way that like Roman's music. It's just like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Oh fuck. The final boss of this game is here now, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just happy. With Brian gone, I need Kenny back. I need him back.
Yeah, James needs something over here, guys.
I'm struggling here, people. I'm really struggling.
He is out here dying on the vine. All right, before we wrap up, let's just clear out the rest of the comments here. It's saying that he is convinced Swerve and Hangman are going to team up. He doesn't care what anybody says. It's going to happen. I think it'll happen, but it'll probably be a while before.
Yeah, I think minimum another year or so, if not. And that's generous.
Yeah, that's generous. And it'll probably be a one-time thing. Like, they're not going to rock and sock connection.
Yeah, it's going to be like the enemy. It's going to be the enemy of my enemy type story.
Yeah, 100%. He also thinks that in storyline, Orange is going to run away, and then
I kind of agree.
Full Gear.
Oh, no. I don't think that part. I don't think he's going to no-show Full Gear, but I think after he loses that Full Gear, he's going to Luke Skywalker it for a bit, or I guess in this instance, Yoda it.
Yeah, well, I think he's just going to get his ass handed to him, and he's not even going to run. It's just going to be he's dead.
Yeah.
We said somebody has to die.
Yeah.
I know Brian died, but somebody else, they need to die.
Yeah.
Like
our hopes need to be completely dashed.
Yeah.
And Orange is that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's saying no, it's not going to be soon with Heyman and Swerve. But another year, maybe even 2 sounds about right. And the no show is a joke. Okay. But he will be gone.
I think he'll be gone after Full Gear. Yeah.
He is going to be summarily executed. And the last thing I will put up from the comments, it's saying that you guys made wrestling great again. You have, we have his vote. Great job. Thank you, dude. James I don't think James is a fan of that joke, but I appreciate the timely joke, and we do appreciate the fact that you come here every weekend.
Yeah, I appreciate the support. You know it. Thank you.
Yeah, you've honestly become a big part of the show now, so you're not all.
Yeah. One of us.
And on that gracious compliment, we thank you so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. We would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. If you liked the video, lets us know that you like what we did here tonight, and we continue to do stuff like this. And if you subscribe, you can get all of our shows here on the channel. James, do we have a Gym Pack Zone tomorrow?
We will have a Gym Pack Zone tomorrow. First one in a couple of weeks. I'm sorry I've missed you guys. Just between Halloween and life, it's been hard.
We had a wedding.
We had a wedding. We had a lot going on. So I'm back to it. I'm with everybody else. I can't believe Joe Hendry didn't win the TNA title.
Wow, I wasn't aware. That's wild.
JBL.
October was crazy.
Yeah, this might have October 2024 might be one of the busiest months I've ever had in my life.
Honestly, I think that's why I have this insane headache. My body is just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because I have multiple playoff games. I know you had multiple playoff games. Good night, you know it. Thank you again. I had 2 weddings, Halloween. Like, it was just insane.
Yeah.
Anyways, we have the Gym Pack Zone tomorrow, so be sure to check that out for all you TA and Impact fans. And if James is feeling frisky, you might even cover tonight's NXT. We've been doing our best to cover more Raw and SmackDown when super important things happen there. So shout out to Matt for covering those. And we do our best to cover all the pay-per-views, except the Saudi show, because fuck that noise. But we will definitely, unless we go, we will be covering Full Gear. Otherwise, we will get you guys stuff from the show on our social medias, which I'll get to in a second. And then maybe we'll try to review it Sunday. We'll see what happens. But if we do end up at Full Gear, we're going to want to follow us on all of our social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. If you're on YouTube, all in the description below. If you're watching us on Twitter, well then, or Facebook, you already know where we are on those channels. But if you're on somewhere like that, and or you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and you want to check out any of our other social media stuff, Twitter is at marketdown_pod. Instagram is at marketdownpod, and YouTube is youtube.com/marketdown3665. James, you got anything before we take off?
I'm tired, boss. I'm real tired.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to go stick a pin in my head, and hopefully it will relieve the pressure. So that is not medical advice. Don't actually do that. So for James Ashanti, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. Have a good night, everyone.